When we think of Viking villages, we picture wooden houses, roaring fires, and warriors walking through muddy streets with axes in hand. But what if I told you the real stories? The ones that change how we see the Viking Age are buried deep underground. Underneath these villages, archaeologists have uncovered graves, hidden weapon storages, secret chambers, and even ancient workshops. And these discoveries aren't just random. They tell us what the Vikings feared, how they fought, how they lived, and even what they believed about life and death. From burnt layers of ash revealing brutal raids to carefully sealed rooms holding forgotten treasures, each layer of soil is like a page from a lost Viking diary. In this video, we'll dig through those layers, literally, and break down what exactly has been found, why it matters, and what it reveals about one of history's most misunderstood civilizations. So grab your shovel, because we're going deep into the forgotten secrets hidden beneath Viking soil. Graves and burial rituals. Beneath the surface of Viking villages, one of the most common and powerful discoveries is their graves. But these aren't just holes in the ground. They are time capsules, filled with meaning, mystery, and rich details about Viking life and death. In places like Birka, Sweden, and Gokstad, Norway, archaeologists have uncovered burial mounds that date back as far as the 9th century. What's incredible is that many of these burial sites were found under or right next to the old village grounds. It tells us something important. The Vikings kept their dead close. To them, the past wasn't separate from daily life. It was right under their feet. One of the most famous discoveries was the Gokstad ship burial found in 1880. A full-size Viking ship buried beneath the soil, carrying the remains of what's believed to be a powerful chieftain. He wasn't alone. Inside were shields, weapons, a game board, and even the remains of horses and dogs. This wasn't just a grave. It was a statement. A message to the gods and to the future about power, pride, and preparation for the afterlife. Other graves found under villages include simpler cremation pits, where ashes were buried with everyday items like tools, combs, and coins. This shows us the range of Viking society, from rich nobles to humble farmers, all buried with honor. In Oseberg, Norway, another ship burial revealed 2 women, possibly queens or priestesses, buried with textiles, wagons, and carvings. This proves that women held significant roles in Viking culture, something we're only now starting to fully understand. What's truly fascinating is how these burial spots were not marked clearly. Many were found by accident during modern construction or digging. That means there are still countless Viking graves hidden beneath the earth, waiting to be found. Each burial gives us more than bones. It gives us a glimpse into Viking beliefs, how they faced death, how they honored the afterlife, and how deeply their spirituality was woven into daily life. In Viking villages, the dead weren't gone. They were still there, buried beneath the homes, watching history unfold. Weapon caches and hidden armories. While many imagine Viking weapons only in battlefields or hanging from a warrior's belt, some of the most important Viking weapons were hidden, deep underground, beneath their own villages. These weren't just random drops or forgotten tools. They were part of a larger plan. Vikings buried weapons to protect them, hide them from enemies, or store them for surprise attacks. In Trelleborg, Denmark, one of the most famous Viking ring fortresses, archaeologists discovered weapon caches buried just beneath the surface, including swords, axes, and spears carefully wrapped and stored. These finds date back to the late 10th century, during the reign of King Harald Bluetooth. This wasn't just about self-defense, it was military strategy. Imagine an enemy invading a peaceful-looking village, not knowing that dozens of warriors were hiding weapons underground, ready to arm themselves at a moment's notice. This kind of hidden warfare shows that Vikings weren't just raiders. They were planners, using terrain, surprise, and smart thinking to stay ahead. In some places like York, England, once the Viking city of Jorvik, weapons were buried beneath homes, suggesting that families kept backup arms in case of emergencies or uprisings. In one dig, researchers found broken sword hilts and spearheads hidden under floorboards, possibly from battles or last-minute burials during conflict. One theory is that some of these hidden weapons were part of sacrificial rituals. In certain Scandinavian sites like Illerup Odal in Denmark, thousands of weapons were buried in bogs and wetlands. Though that's slightly outside a village setting, it shows how Vikings saw weapons as sacred, not just tools of war. Sometimes they were buried to honor the gods, especially after victories. And then there's the economic angle. During hard times, weapons could be stored like treasure, a backup bank of iron and steel to be melted down, sold, or traded later. Viking society wasn't always about raiding. It was also about survival, planning, and adaptability. Secret chambers and underground hideouts. Viking villages were more than just surface-level homes and workshops. Beneath the wooden huts and dirt paths, some settlements hid secret chambers, tunnels, and underground storage rooms that revealed just how clever and cautious Viking society could be. One of the best examples comes from the Viking settlement at Birka, Sweden, a major trade center from the 8th to 10th century. Archaeologists discovered underground pits and chambers beneath houses that were used to hide goods, store valuables, or even shelter during surprise attacks. These were not randomly dug holes. They had stone linings, carved entrances, and sometimes ventilation. Proof that they were carefully planned. In Gotland, another Viking hub, historians have found subterranean cellars underneath longhouses. These rooms were likely used to store grain, tools, and weapons during harsh winters or raids. Some even had false floors, making the entrances nearly invisible. It's believed that during enemy attacks, entire families could hide below with enough supplies to survive for days. Vikings were expert builders, especially when it came to working with the land. In parts of Iceland and Greenland, settlers carved underground passages between farmhouses and outbuildings. These tunnels protected them from freezing temperatures and sudden ambushes. In the 10th century, during periods of internal conflict in Iceland, these hidden routes likely became lifelines between villages. The presence of secret chambers also points to something more personal: distrust and political rivalry. Not all Viking threats came from foreign invaders. Sometimes the danger came from neighboring clans, or even within one's own village. So having a hidden space to store silver, family treasures, or escape routes wasn't just smart, it was necessary. One fascinating case comes from Reykholt, Iceland, the home of Snorri Sturluson, a famous Viking Age writer and politician. Beneath his estate, archaeologists uncovered geothermally heated tunnels, allowing him to move between buildings secretly and comfortably. This shows that by the 13th century, Viking engineering had reached a sophisticated level, blending survival, strategy, and even luxury. These hidden rooms and passageways weren't just footnotes in Viking history. They were the backbone of village security, signs of a culture that knew how to protect what mattered most, even if it meant building a second world beneath their feet. Ancient workshops and crafting chambers. Not all underground Viking discoveries are about war or death. Some reveal the everyday genius of a civilization that thrived on craftsmanship, trade, and innovation. Beneath several Viking villages, archaeologists have unearthed old workshops, blacksmithing pits, and production chambers that tell us exactly how Vikings powered their local economies. In Ribe, Denmark, one of the oldest known Viking towns, layers of soil revealed underground workshops dating back to the 8th century. What did they find? Rows of furnaces, metal slag, and molds used for making jewelry, brooches, and coins. This was no backyard hobby. Vikings turned the ground beneath their feet into small factories, producing goods for trade routes that stretched from Baghdad to Byzantium. Even more impressive are the findings at Hedeby, a major Viking trading hub. Here, underground rooms were discovered containing tools for working with antler, bone, and amber. These raw materials were transformed into combs, needles, and decorative items. It's believed that some of these underground crafting areas were deliberately hidden to protect trade secrets or secure valuable materials during raids. The layout of some of these chambers suggests that they were designed to be fire-safe, with proper ventilation systems and stone linings. That means Viking artisans weren't just skilled with their hands. They also had advanced knowledge of construction, airflow, and safety. There's also evidence that these underground rooms were used to store uncut metals and precious items. For example, in Aarhus, Denmark, a hoard of silver coins and trade ingots was found buried beneath what used to be a blacksmith's home. This wasn't just a stash. It was Viking insurance, a way to keep wealth hidden in times of political unrest. These workshops show us a different side of Viking life. Not just raiders, but inventors. Not just fighters, but global traders. And the fact that much of this industry was hidden underground proves that the Vikings understood the value of both creation and protection. Forgotten trade goods and buried treasures. Not everything hidden beneath Viking villages was related to war or survival. In fact, some of the most surprising underground discoveries have nothing to do with weapons or graves, but with trade. The Vikings weren't just raiders, they were savvy merchants. And under their villages lie the lost remains of an ancient economic network that once connected Scandinavia to the rest of the world. Take Hedeby, for example. Located in what is now northern Germany, Hedeby was one of the most important Viking trading ports between the 8th and 11th centuries. Archaeologists digging below the village have found wooden barrels and sealed pits containing goods like silks, spices, Arabic coins, and even pieces of glassware from the Frankish Empire. These weren't things you'd expect in a cold northern village, but they prove just how far Viking trade routes reached, from Baghdad to Constantinople, and from the British Isles to the Baltic Sea. In Gotland, Sweden, buried beneath Viking homes, archaeologists uncovered what they call hoard pits. These were underground hiding spots filled with silver coins, gold rings, and trade ingots. Some of these treasures were hidden so well that they remained untouched for over 1,000 years. The largest of these finds, the Spillings hoard, included over 67 pounds of silver, buried sometime in the 9th century. No one knows why it was never recovered. Maybe the trader died, or maybe the village was attacked. But the treasure remained, silently telling the story of a forgotten deal or a broken promise. What makes these discoveries even more fascinating is their diversity. In the Swedish site of Sigtuna, coins from over 30 different cultures were found beneath the village soil. This included Persian silver, Anglo-Saxon pennies, and Byzantine bronzes. That means Viking traders didn't just exchange furs and amber. They were part of a global system, acting as middlemen between the East and West. Some buried goods also reveal signs of ritual. In Denmark's Lesra region, several underground storage pits were found holding broken pottery and intentionally damaged trade goods. Historians believe these were offerings, possibly sacrifices to gods for safe travels or successful deals. It shows how business and belief went hand in hand in Viking culture. Even beneath smaller villages, archaeologists have found everyday trade items buried for safekeeping. Animal hides, iron tools, woven cloth, and dried fish packed in sealed containers. These weren't riches, but they were essential to survival. A single underground cache could feed a family or restart a business after hard times. All these discoveries paint a richer picture of Viking life. Beneath their homes and workshops, under layers of ash and dirt, lies evidence of a civilization that built its strength not only on war, but on commerce, connection, and community. The next time you think of Vikings, remember, buried under their villages wasn't just treasure. It was trust, trade, and the legacy of deals made in a world without borders. Discoveries and the legacy beneath our feet. As archaeologists keep digging beneath Viking villages, new layers of history keep unfolding. What started as simple curiosity has now become a deeper mission. To truly understand who the Vikings were, not just by their swords or ships, but by what they left behind, hidden under the very places they lived. In recent years, advanced technology like ground-penetrating radar has helped researchers find things without even disturbing the soil. At Borg in Norway, scans revealed outlines of entire longhouses and underground workshops that had vanished from the surface. At other sites like Avaldsnes, digital mapping has exposed the foundations of temples, feasting halls, and secret burial sites still untouched by shovels. Every year, these tools are rewriting what we know about the Viking Age. Even now, new graves, tools, weapons, and sacred objects are being found across Scandinavia and beyond, under schools, farms, and even modern cities. In Dublin, Ireland, entire Viking neighborhoods were uncovered beneath office buildings. In Russia, ancient Norse coins and armor were discovered below layers of medieval ruins. It's a reminder that Viking influence stretched far and wide, and many of their stories are still buried under our feet, waiting to be uncovered. These hidden worlds show us that the Vikings weren't just violent raiders. They were builders, traders, farmers, and spiritual people who honored their dead, protected their homes, and adapted to changing times. They created secret passageways, buried treasures for future generations, and left behind clues to a life that was far more complex than the old myths suggest. So as you walk through history books, museum halls, or even your own backyard, remember, what lies beneath might change everything we thought we knew about the Vikings. If you've enjoyed this journey into the forgotten world under Viking villages, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the next hidden chapter of history. There's so much more to uncover, and we're just getting started.